Two picks and parlay. Face on the screen. There it is. A little bit of a delay, but we're here and we're ready to dive into some bets today. Of course, it's Super Bowl week, and believe it, we've got you covered. We're talking all kinds of Super Bowl talk today, including player prop bets, team prop bets, maybe a few wacky and weird prop bets, and of course, the spread and the total between the Chiefs and the 49ers. Personally, I think the Chiefs look like a square play, but I still like them. And they're only minus 1.5. So maybe if that number moved a little bit more, I would consider the 49ers really operate out of the pocket. And sometimes sports world and just, pop culture. Kobe Bryant is passing. That's going to be an emotional game for the Lakers for sure. Picks and parlays. In our first segment of the day, we are diving into some NBA action. I am your host, Chelsa Messenger. I guess I forgot to introduce myself in the first segment. So excited about all these Super Bowl bets and our basketball action that I forgot. You can find me on Twitter. My handle is just my name, at Chelsea Messenger, and also drop us a line on any of our social media platforms. We'd really appreciate it. If you search Picks and Parlays on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, we're really easy to find. As promised, let's get to some of this NBA action. We've got Damian Sosh joining us to talk a little NBA. Hello, Damian. Can you hear me? Hopefully. So let's start with this Mavs-Rockets game. Rockets -5 in this one. Total sits at 239.5. Both these teams coming off dreadful performances in their last games. The Mavs looked really sluggish, and they got beat by 19 points at home to the Suns, where they gave up 133 points. Meanwhile, the Rockets coming off a loss as well. Who do we like in this one? What's the play?
Well, in this game, when I look into it, both these teams enter the game, both identical records at 29-18. The Rockets, they really had an interesting week. Monday, they beat the Jazz and Utah on the second game of a back-to-back without James Harden, Russell Westbrook, or Clint Capella. And that game saw Eric Gordon score 50 points. Then they go and they play Portland, as you mentioned, with all those guys, and they lose by 13. Harden was just 5 for 18 from the floor that game, so you kind of wonder, is he fully healthy? Is he still a little bit banged up? Mavs, meanwhile, got blown out by the Suns, losing by 29 points. Mavs, however, they were playing in the second night of a back-to-back to go along with their fourth game in 6 days, so they're understandably tired in that game. I expect a much better game from Dallas on Friday. Dallas, they acquired Willie Cauley-Stein recently from Golden State to take the place of Dwight Powell, who they lost to an Achilles injury for the season. I think he didn't play much against the Suns. I expect him to see more run on Friday, and he should really help them defensively, be the rim protector that they signed him to be. Houston, they're just 3-6 in their last 9. Dallas is 6-3. Dallas is 16-6 on the road this year. Very impressive. 7-0 in the division. So I'm going to take the Mavs on the road with the points in this game.
Just saw today is Luka Doncic. He turned his ankle in practice and is supposed to have an MRI. So just something to be aware of. I'm not sure if he's going to play, but if it affects your bet, you need to pay attention to it. Any other thoughts on this game? Two of the top offenses in the league, not really known for defenses, but would you have a play on the total on this one?
I don't have a play on the total, but I would lean the over in this one. As you mentioned, both teams are really scoring at a high level. They both have such explosive offensive players. Harden, Westbrook, one of those guys could always go off. And Mavericks, obviously, as you mentioned, Doncic is a concern, but if he can go, he scored, I believe, 41 or 42 the first time these teams met, and I don't see anybody really being able to stop him if he's fully healthy and able to go in this one.
On to the Lakers and the Blazers. As I mentioned in the intro, this is probably going to be a really emotional game for the Lakers. The first game back since the passing of Kobe Bryant. A lot of these guys were close with him. Obviously, he's a legend, a huge name in the basketball world. Lakers 10.5-point favorites in this one. Totals is 230.5. Who do you like in this one?
Yeah, definitely. This is going to be an emotional game, and you have to take the Lakers in this game as far as I'm concerned. Portland's going to be coming into this game. They're just 21-27 on the year. They are 6-4 in their last 10. Trevor Ariza recently acquired. He seems to be fitting in nicely there in Portland. Offensively, Portland's really putting up a lot of points, 125 over their last 5. And in their last 3 games, they've shot the ball outstanding, over 50% from the floor. But they still give up a ton of points. They rank 25th in the NBA in total points allowed. LA, meanwhile, 36-10 on the season, best record in the West. We mentioned how emotional of a game this is going to be for them. And sometimes, the best thing might be for these guys just to get out on the court, play basketball, maybe get away from everything for a little bit and just get out there and play. Portland struggled on the road this season. They're just 9-16 away from home, and they're 5-17 on the year against teams with records above 500. Lakers 5-0 against the spread in Portland in the last 5 games. I think it's going to be 6-0 after Friday night. I really see the Lakers covering the spread in this.
It would be silly to not take the Lakers straight up, at least. The only issue I would have is the spread being pretty big. 10.5 is a lot of points, and Damian Lillard has been making threes from Vancouver. That man has been on fire lately. However, I think LeBron is going to counter with a great game himself. When he needs to step it up, he really does. He's one of those guys that doesn't really pour it on unless he really needs to. And I see he's going to have a huge game here. If you have player prop bets, I see LeBron scoring a ton. Agree? Disagree?
I totally agree with you. There's no way LeBron's not he's not gonna let the Lakers lose this basketball game. The spread is big. I do think the Lakers cover, but they're definitely not losing this game.
Right, for sure, and especially since it's at home. I almost feel like the Blazers, I don't know, it's one of those games that I just don't see the Lakers losing. Kind of like Kobe's last game. He scored 60 despite a Lakers team that was really, really terrible. If you watch that game, the replay the other night, that was a bad team. And they still managed to win Kobe's last game. So, all right, let's move on to the Thunder and the Suns. The Thunder are favored in this one, -1. Total is 222 and a hook. Thunder are 29-20. Suns 20-27. Who do we like in this one?
I'm taking the Thunder, laying in the small points on the road in this one. Thunder won 6 of 7. They're coming off a 20-point win at Sacramento their last game. They have a very balanced offense. 5 players averaging double figures. 3 of those players are averaging 19 or more points. Some might have thought Chris Paul's career might be kind of slowing down, but he's just having a great season. 17 points per game to go along with 6.5 assists per game. The Suns, as we mentioned, they're coming off that nice win at Dallas. They did win by 29, took advantage of a tired Mavericks team. And the Suns do have a balanced attack of their own. They have 6 guys averaging double figures. Devin Booker, obviously the all-star here, averaging 27 a night for the Suns. The Suns, though, have just won 2 of their last 5, and they're just 9-15 at home. Very poor home record. The Thunder, meanwhile, they started the season 0-6 on the road. Since then, they've gone an amazing 14-4 on the road. And I think as I mentioned, I think the Thunder continue their winning ways on the road, and I want to lay them the short number on the road at Phoenix.
Got the lights out in their last game. They shot 59% from the field, which was a season high, and I'm not sure if they can repeat that. 90% from the free throw line and 42% of three-point shots. So I'm not sure if you replicate that. Plus, they're 0-6 against the spread in their last 6 at home. As you mentioned, they're not great at home. It's concerning.
No, yeah, definitely not. And the way the way the Thunder are playing on the road recently, as I mentioned, 14-4 stretch right now on the road. I don't see the Thunder for me is definitely the play in this one.
1 against the number in their last 7 as well. But like you said, the Suns can score a lot of points. So, but the point spread, it really isn't that much. Obviously, -1, almost a pick 'em.
Right.
That about wraps it up for NBA. Any other free plays you want to throw out there quickly, or are you good with those 3 games?
Those for the 3 NBA. I do taking a quick look at college basketball from Friday. Heading to the Ivy League. I kind of like Yale laying the points. It's a big number right now, 16 against Columbia, but Yale by far is the best in the Ivy League. They're 14-4. Columbia just 6-12. Yale plays a really good defense, holding opponents to just 36.5 field goal percentage from the floor. I like Yale laying the big number in this game.
Thank you, Damian. We're cramming in all the info we can into a short amount of time. We're back after the break on Picks and Parlays. Radio on the Sports Byline Broadcast Network and also streaming on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Chelsa Messenger. You can find me every day on Twitter. My handle is just my name, at Chelsa Messenger. Drop me a line or a meme or a Baby Yoda meme. That's my favorite at the time. All right, it is Super Bowl week. And for bettors, that means it's a big week. There's so many things to bet on. And best believe it, we're talking about all of them right now. We are going to dive into some player props for the Super Bowl. Who's going to have a great game? Who's going to have a bad game? Or, we just play the number. So it might not be that bad or that great of a performance, but you play the number. And we've got a whole bunch of people to talk about it. We've got Craig Trapp, Chip Chirimbes, Tony T, and Sean Higgs joining us. Hello, gentlemen.
Hey, Chelsea.
Good day, Chelsea. How are you feeling?
You get your energy levels up. This is the Super Bowl. Let's get it going.
We're ready.
All
we just
right.
didn't all step on each other's toes by saying hello at once. That's all.
Be a little bit more aggressive. Let's talk about these player props. Let's start with you, Craig. Who do you think is going to have a big game, or what's the bet you like the most?
Well, we talked early in the week, we were looking at the opening line, or actually, gosh, it was last week, of course, with the week off. I said I would probably be taking all the Chiefs passing yardage, all that stuff over, and probably looking at all the under as far as the 49ers passing. So my top play is going to be Patrick Mahomes as far as player props. Patrick Mahomes over 307.5 yards, and to go along with that, over 36.5 pass attempts as well. I just think Patrick Mahomes has a really big day. Thinks obviously he's been the best player in the league, I think, the last 2 years. And I think if you don't see him in enough commercials now, I think after his winning Super Bowl, I think you're going to see him a lot more.
Baker Mayfield in some of those commercials, bless his heart. He hasn't been the spokesperson that they hope for. All right, Chip, let's get it back on subject. What's the bet you like the most?
All right, props sometimes are very interesting because there's so many offered, and if you take your time, you might be able to find something. And I found something, and I think I'm going to play maybe the opposite side, or it has nothing really to do with Greg's side. And this is a player prop involving Jimmy Garoppolo. And, he threw for 71 yards in one game, just about over 100 in the other, and had 200 yards passing in 2. playoff games. Well, the total passing yards for Garoppolo opens in this series at over 249, and it's been bet down to 236. I think the fact that the number of total yards are for Garoppolo after having such small amount of yardage in 2 games combined is destined to go over. I think the odds makers trying to say that the 49ers know that they're going to have to pass the ball to keep up with the Mahomes at Kansas City, because that team scores a lot. And of course, Kansas City's going to gear themselves up to stop the running game of the Niners. And the other prop, I think, is total passes by Garoppolo. I think that's going to be over as well, because if Kansas City does grab that early lead, like Greg was saying about earlier, the Niners are going to have to put the ball in the air. So I like total yards over for Garoppolo. I like total attempts for Garoppolo over, and I like total completions for Garoppolo over. And that is my single individual player props.
We've seen that the Chiefs do have some holes. As of late, they've been a little bit better, but they do allow some points. Tony T, who do you like, or what's the player prop you like most in this game?
Yeah, I'm with Chip here. I'm going with the player prop with Jimmy G. Garoppolo. I like him to go over 64.5 completion rate. He's been over 64.5% completion rate in 14 of 18 games this season. And with the 49ers offensive line rested, I think they come up strong in this game, expect the passing game to open up for the 49ers. And you know what? Garoppolo likes to target his tight end, George Kittle's, and that will lead to high percentage completion rates. And I believe the 49ers are able to run, they won't be in this down and distance where you get in those where you need a long throw. I think he has the short intermediate passes and he'll be accurate here. So play Jimmy G over 64.5% completion rate.
And have George Kittle for part of the season. So that could have affected his stats and their offense, but he is back. George Kittle, that is. So a big weapon for their offense there. Sean Higgs, who you got for me?
I have a gaggle of props for the Super Bowl. I got 25 total. And, for the starter, I got Hardman for KC receiving yards, 28.5 yards. Listen, I like this kid. He's explosive. Mahomes spreads the ball around. I get Kelsey's the big guy everybody loves. You got Tyreek Hill. But I don't know. I think this guy can break it on one catch, 40 yards, and even a touchdown on top of it. So 28.5 yards is good. Let's go Merkel Hardman as our Kansas City player prop over the total receiving yardage.
Talked a little bit about Patrick Mahomes. There was one I was looking at. His longest completion, over or under 44.5 yards. As we've seen during the year, they certainly have big play potential. Anybody biting on that one? That's just one I liked.
Well, Chelsea, I think that's a huge number of yards, considering that the 49ers led the NFL in passing defense and allowing only 161 yards per game. So the big play, which is his forte, may not be there. And yet that number is so high that they are sort of indicating that this is a chance to go over. It's a very tough number to call, but with Mahomes and the Chiefs' experience, it could go over easily.
If this becomes if this becomes a big margin for 49ers up big, I can see it happen in the second half. I can see the 49ers playing really soft on defense, and those underneath passes that Tyreek Hill can the run after the catch can easily cash if you handicap this game as the 49ers up by 2 scores or more in the second half.
I'm going to say, look, he got Mahomes back there. He's a scrambler. And we've seen the Niners versus guys like Russell Wilson and Kyle Murray. The line's breaking down. That's when these big plays happen. Guy's going to run around back there. He's going to scoot out to the left or right, get outside the hash mark. Somebody's wide open. You can't sit coverage for 6-7 seconds. That's where you're going to get your big play from him.
Have you guys already talked about MVP odds?
MVP odds.
No clue.
We talked about it yesterday or 2 days ago with Ali, and I think the interesting thing with the MVP odds is after you get past the quarterbacks, of course, they're really big. But man, when you look at the odds market right now, it's all about Patrick Mahomes. They expect obviously them to win, and with him being by far, I mean, if they win, he's going to have a big game. I would say the only player on Kansas City, Travis Kelsey, might be the one player that could pull it off. I think he was like plus 800, plus 850 right now.
Is the one throwing to him is Patrick Mahomes. So if he has a big game, so does Mahomes. Anybody like MVP odds on any of the Niners?
I think if you're going to go Niners, I take Mostert. He's at 7-1 that I see on some of my sheets here. Just because what are the Niners game plans going to do? It's going to be they're going to run the ball and keep Kansas City offense off the field. So if that's the case, you're going to have a guy pounding the ball with 20-plus carries, should get over 100 yards, and probably punch it in at least twice. So that's where I'd go if I'm looking at the Niners. I mean, if you're a Niner guy, how do you think the game's going to play out? Is it going to be a wild one, or is it going to be a grinded-out one? That's what it comes down to. If we had the crystal ball, we'd know it all, but we don't.
There's actually been 2 defensive players win MVP in the last 6. So would anybody jump on Joey Bosa? Or is that the right Bosa? God. Is it Nick Bosa or Joey Bosa? I always get them confused.
Nick.
Too many Bosas.
Nick's 100 to 1. 100 to 1 for Nick Bosa here at Will Hill. 100 to 1. Well, listen, that's why wouldn't that be a bad thing? The guys gets in there, wreaks havoc, a couple fumbles, a sack. And again, if that'll play into what the Niners would want, low scoring game, turnovers, again, control the clock. Why not? Also go real fast for defensive guys. If you want to do we're talking about defensive, how about Richard Sherman, an interception prop bets plus 450? That guy's like a ball hawk. He, plus 450 is worth a little play on him if you want to get something kind of exotic for a defensive player. I mean, that guy seems to make plays all the time. So if you're a Richard Sherman fan, even if you're not, 450, that's a nice take back.
He's getting a little older, though. I don't think he's quite as good as he used to be. And I think his mouth is still at the level that it used to be, but not necessarily his playing time. We want to thank everybody for joining us. We're back in the next segment talking more Super Bowl bets, the spread, the total. We've got it all. We've got 3 minutes. Oh,
the team prop. We're looking at team props.
Team props.
I got
Chelsea's
team prop here. I
wrestling.
got one for you. Yeah.
All right,
I've
go
got
ahead.
the 49ers. I got the 49ers going over 26.5 points. My concern here is the performance of the Chiefs defense this season. They've given up a lot of yardage in the playoffs, a lot of points. Opponents averaging nearly 370 yards of offense on this Chiefs defense. And I know the 49ers, if they have a lead, they cannot take the foot off the gas because of that potent Chiefs offense. So I like the 49ers team total over 26.5.
I can add one too.
Go
I can
ahead,
add
Jim.
one too, Chelsea, and team concepts. Total interceptions 1.5, and it's favored by $1.50, which is a pretty strong price. But I think with all the passing is going to be done, and there can be tipped passes or bad passes, I think it's destined to go over 1.5. You're laying $1.50 total interceptions for the game. I think that might be a side if you want to combine both teams.
You have a team total or a team side you like?
You mean for the for selection for the game or total interceptions for both teams?
No,
Yeah.
we've got that on the next segment. I was talking to Craig.
Right. Okay.
Well, I think I would take both the yeses on converting a 4th down conversion. I think both teams are going to be aggressive because, like Tony said, there's going to be a lot of points scored in this one. That's my prediction. And I think anytime you're 4th and goal in plus yardage, I think you're going to see both teams go for it here. And with 2 explosive offenses, the Chiefs are, of course, through the air. The 49ers are more through the ground. I like them both to convert 4th down conversions. Those are individual teams, so you have to bet the Chiefs and the 49ers individually.
Oh, we're going to break. I jumped the gun a little bit, but don't worry, we're back with more Super Bowl talk on Picks and Parlays. Right after the break, we're coming at you with the game, the spread, and the total. We're back after the break on Picks and Parlays. Messing with my hair. If you know females or women, we like to do that a lot. Let's dive into more Super Bowl talk right now. We're getting into the actual game. We've talked player totals and some prop bets, but right now we're talking about the actual game, the 49ers and the Chiefs. The Chiefs are favored -1.5 as of right now. Let's start with Craig Trapp. Craig, who are you taking?
Well, when I did the advanced line report a couple weeks ago, then we did an update early in the week. I said both times I still like the over even though this over has been bet up a little bit. We see it right now at 54.5. And, you know, I was stopped on the strip today by a couple fans that watch our show here, and they said, you know, I need the side, I don't bet the total. So I said I would bet the Chiefs, I think, at the -1.5. I do know several big bettors in town, and I mean really big bettors, that are waiting to put that sharp money in on the 49ers, hoping this line will move. But the line really has not moved a whole lot. You know, I see some ones out there, I see some 1.5s. I kind of expected this line to be into that 2.5, maybe even get to 3 I had predicted, but we haven't seen it. We've really just seen the line movement on the total. So I'm going to go over 54.5. I think there's going to be a ton of points scored. I think both teams easily get in the high 20s here, and I think this one goes over. We've seen, other than last year's Super Bowl, we've seen some really high Super Bowls in recent years. I think the extra time to prepare, both teams healthy, I think you're going to see it. And I think it's going to be a tight end showcase, by the way. Kittles and Chelsa, I think both of them are going to have really big games for their teams.
Against the under is the fact that the Super Bowl is so different. There's so many interruptions. There's long breaks. As we know, the halftime Super Bowl performance takes a long time. So I'm wondering if people can really get in a rhythm. But as we've seen, these are two options that can really score, especially the Chiefs. Chip, what do you think?
I'm just the opposite of Greg. I'm sorry to say it. And I think part of the reason that I've drawn to playing the under in the Super Bowl is what I've seen in the props, Chelsa. Do you know that both the Chiefs and the Niners are virtually 2-1 underdogs not to score in every quarter? And if you're going to give if you're going to give San Francisco $1.80 back, and you're going to give the Chiefs $1.70 back, I'm really seeing that the odds makers aren't willing to give away that much money. And one of these teams, if not both of them, are probably going to have a quarter where they don't score. And another indicator to me was on the props is the total punts at 7.5, which means that each team would punt at least once each quarter. And I think that this is destined to keep the score lower. And of course, we can play this straight up, like you said, the attitude about being the square side, where you would expect the 49ers to try to control the ball on the ground, and their passing defense, which led the NFL, might give Mahomes a little problems. But I'll tell you something, I've tried to play against this Kansas City team under before, and it hasn't worked very often. So Greg may have the right side, but my instinct says, because of the props that I saw, and because of the way the props are indicating the score and the game and the flow is supposed to go, I think this game is going to go under the total.
What's your play?
Well, I think I gave the under the total. I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Yeah. It's on to me. Okay, that's all right. I'm gonna take the San Francisco 49ers here at +1.5. You know, a lot of NFL games are won on the line of scrimmage. I just think San Francisco has a better offensive, defensive line. And also, they're coming off a bye week. Look how strong the 49ers performed on bye weeks this season. They went to Cleveland. I know Cleveland's a bad team, but they still pounded them 31-3. They ran the ball for 275 yards. Defense they held the Browns 180 yards in that game. We look at the divisional playoff. 49ers come off the bye week. You know, those linemen on their bye weeks, linemen have told me, and on bye weeks, what they do is they're in the weight room and working on their strength, and that's what they do on the bye weeks. And I think they came out strong here against the Vikings, dominating that game 27-10. They held the Vikings only 147 yards of offense. You know, during this season, the 49ers held opponents to under 200 yards of offense in 5 games this year. They're second best defensively on third down, 5th best on offense. And we saw the KC defense really look bad at times in the playoffs against Houston and Tennessee. You're giving up, 27.5 points per game in the playoffs. And of course, in 2 games against the Texans, you know, the Texans put up 472 yards, 442 yards on this Chiefs defense. And one thing about the 49ers, I think Craig brought this up in his opening line report, they could put pressure on opposing quarterbacks without blitzing. I think that will be an impact there. And one thing to note, too, and I know this from the past, the 49er fans will travel to this game. They will have more fans than KC. They will pay top dollar to support their team in this Super Bowl with those escalating prices. I like the 49ers plus the 1.5.
Here's a stat for you guys. The Chiefs are 8-0 against the spread in their last 8. Sean, who you like in this one?
I'm going to go under the total 54.5 here. Now, at 51, I kind of say going over there, but, you know, we got an extra field goal to play with here. I'm going to go under. It's a Super Bowl. Let's be honest, they're going to come out a little slow. You got your extended pregame nonsense going on. Kansas City has come out slow the last couple weeks, which may play into this. You know, right into San Francisco's defensive hands early. So I'm thinking slow out of the gate. And again, then you're coming out slow after halftime with extended. It's a different game. Listen, it's easy to say over when you got Mahomes and this offense. I'm not buying it. I think it's going to be somebody will get to 30 possibly. Yes, but doesn't mean it's going to go over the total. So I'm going to go under the 54.5.
Though. Or you're not picking a team. You're not picking a
You
team?
can go buy it if you want. You can go buy my best bet winner if you want right now, Chelsea. I'm not giving it to you for free. Giving that all my can't give out all my gravy here. Listen, but I'll piggyback on Craig saying these guys will be aggressive. I'll say yes to a prop bet 2-point conversion at 10 plus 175. Absolutely, somebody's going for 2. Absolutely, plus 175 on a prop bet there. Go for it.
Anybody seen any other prop bets that they like? The national anthem. I know it's set at 2 minutes. The color of the Gatorade. And then I think there's a line on how many times Trump's going to tweet. So there's all kinds of bets. Has anybody seen anything to your liking?
Well, Chelsea, we did a report from PointsBet. I get a report daily from where the sharp play is. And one of the funny things is that the coin toss. It was like 70% of the money was on tails as of Tuesday, and like 53% of the betting tickets, which tells you, it's about 50-50. That's what you expect. But when you get over 70% of the money, it's a pretty big advantage. Of course, most of the money for the Super Bowl and the props will come in from Wednesday forward. But that was pretty interesting that early that one-sided on which I would be heads. So that's why I was surprised tails was still.
Yeah, I think the head's the heavier side, right? You think? With the bigger head.
I don't know about that.
I'll add
I
this.
don't
about
like
the
about
national
some
anthem.
of
If you're
those
looking
bets. Go ahead,
for,
Tony.
the national anthem. Yeah, I'll bring this. I noticed the singer here performed at the McGregor. Who was he did the fight? What's
And Mayweather.
Mayweather fight. Yeah, and it went. She milked it. It went way over the total. So I'll look over on the national anthem.
She's been under in I want to say 4 of her performances. But if you don't follow Demi Lovato on Instagram, she's had a bit of a rough year. And at the Grammys, she had a performance that she really drew it out. So I think for that reason, I would like the over as well. It's a big stage, and it's her moment to shine. And she's a vocalist. I don't know if you've ever heard her sing, but man, she's got some pipes, and I think she's really going to pour it on. Any other bets? I know what I was going to say. Some of the odds on these. Some of the odds are minus 120 for both sides. What's your advice to some of these rookie bettors when looking at some of these odds? We'll go. Let's ask Chip on this one.
Well, they always do that with the props. It's always you're paying through the nose with the price on this. You're not going to get an even shot at it, and because they feel kind of vulnerable with that. And all these prop bets that we're talking about right now, most of them have stringent limits on them, and they're not taking the same kind of action on any of these props that they would on a side or a total. And one final prop, like I said, I mentioned total punts 7.5. I think it goes over. They each have to punt once every quarter for it to be 8 punts, and I see it going over.
Just for fun, does anybody want to throw out their pick just straight up? If you had a money line bet, not saying that you would take it, but who do you pick in the Super Bowl? Let's start with Craig.
Well, I actually wouldn't probably bet for the game because, like I said, I really like the over. But I think one of the things that I would bet, I think I would take the first quarter 49ers. 49ers, have been really good in the playoffs, jumping out to big leads. And the 49ers, just the opposite. They've been behind in both games. So I think I would take the 49ers, even though I think the Chiefs will win and cover. If I had to bet the game, I think I would take the 49ers in the first quarter in this Super Bowl.
What about quarters and halves? Anyone else have a quarter or a half bet that they like?
I'll chime in
Actually,
here.
like second half,
I like
27.
I like more scoring in the second half than the first half because I think the first half will be pretty much. I don't want to say a snooze fest, but I think in the second half this is where the teams make the second half adjustments, and I do believe you'll have tiring defense, and we'll see what the humidity is like in Miami as well. So I would definitely go with more scoring in the second half than the first half in this one.
I agree. I like that too. 27 points. Is that on?
My
Oh,
thoughts,
oh.
my thoughts would be to follow what Greg said as far as having maybe the Niners in the first half or first quarter because of the slow start that we've seen the Chiefs get off to already in the playoffs. They were pounded by 2 games early and came back in both situations. So they need to get a quicker start. This may a slight advantage to the Niners.
Yeah, for in-game betting, I would say in-game betting is where you can make a lot of money, because if the 49ers get down or get up early, like I expect they will in the first quarter, I think the second you're going to be able to get plus money. Then you can bet the money line on the Chiefs if you like the Chiefs. Also, I think if they get out to a slow start, which we've seen the Chiefs get off to a slow start the last few games, then you could the total on the in-game will come down as well. So I think in-game betting will be nice if you have that opportunity, if you're here in Vegas, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, some of the states that are legal.
I guess if you're not eating too many chicken wings and you don't have sauce on your hands, you can make some of those in-game wagers. Any other thoughts on this game? As I mentioned earlier, it's a little different than betting some of these normal games. Any other advice for bettors? Anybody?
Well, before we get to that, Sean's going to be representing Picks and Parlays in Atlantic City. Sean, you want to tell them where you're going to be, where the people can, if they're in Atlantic City, join you?
Yeah, we'll be over at Bally's Wild West. It's got a little fan cave there. We got sweatshirts and hats and shirts and T-shirts. It's gonna be a fun. I'll be there like 10 in the morning, setting up shop. So come by, get a beer, get a sandwich, get a burger, a hot dog, whatever. Grab some bets, make some money, and have a good time. So definitely, tri-state area people. It's not that far a ride. Come on down. Come on. It's a couch there. You could sleep. Get there early. Take a nap. Let's go. It's gonna be a long day. I'll be there from 9 to like midnight.
I'm going to be here in Vegas. I don't know yet where I'm going to be, but if you follow me on Facebook or Twitter, I'll be announcing where I'm going to be. Probably me and Scott Rickenback, another handicapper here at Picks and Parlays. You'll be able to catch us here in Vegas. So make sure you follow us.
Bulldog.
That voice, it scared me. I was just going to say, Sean Higgs, speaking of food, fun fact. Weren't you on Man vs. Food?
Yes. I was on Man vs. Food, absolutely, for some wings at my buddy's restaurant. Yeah. They're hot as hell. They're
Seeing any of
brutally
those
hot.
performances?
Go back, it's the Jersey Shore episode.
And,
have you guys seen it or no?
Man.
No.
No? Did you pull it up? It was on Netflix.
Now I want to.
You can find it.
Now we got to.
Shit.
Go ahead.
All right.
Evan.
Thanks,
Go
guys,
ahead.
for joining us.
You can find the clip on YouTube.
We're back
put it up
after
on
the
Twitter.
break on Picks and Parlays. We're back after the break.
Pulling out the Man vs. Food, Adam Richmond. Love it.
Yeah, well, we're done, right? I'm done.
Are back on Picks and Parlays Radio on the Sports Byline Broadcast Network, and also streaming on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. If you want to find us, we're really easy to find if you search Picks and Parlays. Usually the first thing that pops up. I am your host, Chelsa Messenger. You can find me on Twitter every day. My handle is just my name, at Chelsa Messenger. And today we had a jam-packed show full of Super Bowl talk and a little NBA sprinkled in. If you haven't been paying attention, don't worry. We've got you covered. Here's some of the picks from today's show. Damian Sosh gave us some NBA and college basketball picks. Mavs at Rockets. He's taking the Mavs +5. Blazers Lakers in that emotional game in LA, taking the Lakers -12. That's a big number. Thunder Suns taking the Thunder -1. And Yale at Columbia, the battle of the Ivy Leagues. He's taking Yale -16 in that one. Chirimbes gave us some Super Bowl player props. He's taking Jimmy Garoppolo passing over 235 or 237 and a hook. And he likes the over to hit 7.5 punts. So a little defense involved in that one. Trapp his player prop was taking Mahomes over 307.5 passing yards. And a team prop to take in that one from Craig as well. Take fourth down conversion in the game, yes, at minus 125. Tony T gave us some player props as well. He likes Jimmy Garoppolo over 64% completion rate and a Super Bowl team prop. He's taking the Niners over 26.5. Sean Higgs gave us a player prop, taking McCole Hardman over 28.5 yards. And he likes San Francisco under 7 players with receptions at minus 145. And moving on to some more Super Bowl picks, Chip Chirimbes, likes the under in the Super Bowl. Craig Trapp likes the over at 54.5. Tony T likes the 49ers. And Sean Higgs likes the under to hit under 54.5. If that's not enough info and bets, well, we're on every weekday. You can join us any of the days. But we're back every weekday. Thanks for joining us. This is Picks and Parlays Radio. We'll see you next time.